Welcome to Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women, the podcast where we talk all things sex, sexualities, and pleasure.
Damn, she's so fly. Goddamn, she might die. She goddamn with the goddess lie.
Today we are talking about
sex and dating.
And we had some incredible guests. Wow. And I feel like, you know what, for this episode, we have a lot of African and diaspora countries represented.
Which I love as a member of
the diaspora
and the continent.
So one of our guests, Vickie Remoe, just a woman I have so much love for, Sierra Leonean, but lives in Ghana and works between Ghana, Sierra Leone, and the USA.
Yes.
She's a communication strategist. She's so many things. The author of a children's book, a journalist, a fundraising guru. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who else did we have?
Today we also have Solange, first name only needed, like Beyonce. She is Rwandan Canadian. She's an author. She is so well traveled. She currently lives in...
I can't remember. Because she keeps moving.
She moves everywhere.
Yeah, she keeps moving. I can't remember. She's in a francophone African country right now. That's what I remember. And then we also have Kwame. He is Ghanaian and British, recently moved back to Ghana. So people will be hearing about like his dating experiences now that he's in Ghana.
And he's a tall drink of water, y'all.
Oh, yeah. When you're thirsty, ooh, Kwame,
take a drink of
Kwame. Malika, you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Now, who am I going to start with? I think I'm going to actually start with you, Vickie. So, over the past few months, I've been trying to get a bit more intentional about dating. And I would love to hear from your perspective what you feel the world of sex and dating is like nowadays.
The last 4 men I've dated have been men in their 20s. And it's taken a lot of psychological unlearning for me to come to terms with that this is my reality, right? Like, this is not what I saw in my future.
Vickie, I so relate with that. Like, my last proper relationship was with a guy who was a decade younger than me. But I feel like it's something about being who we are, right? Like, middle-class African women who do not take shit, basically, who are not looking for men to fund our lifestyles. Yes, it would be nice if, you can, but most of the men I meet usually can't. And then you're looking for men who have a particular type of openness. I mean, for me, there's some things which are non-negotiable. I'm not going to date somebody who expects me to cook clean for him, somebody who's homophobic. So usually it ends up somehow being, and I also don't want to be somebody's second or third wife. I respect the choice of people who decide that it may work for them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't leave, it tends to mean that.
So yeah, I do think that it definitely is a generational thing. It's about their values. It's about honesty and openness and like willing to share parts of themselves that maybe might make them uncomfortable. I just feel like men in their 20s are more, because that's what I demand, right? Like, I must get in there. I must know you. I have to see who you are. And I feel like the men who've been willing to take that adventure with me have been younger men.
I want to come to you, Solange, because you also wrote a really incredible book about your experiences dating as a trans woman across like Africa. So what's been like the sex and dating life been like for you over the past couple of years?
Interesting question. I don't know where to start. But let's put it this way. When I was in Canada, it was like, okay, being a trans woman was like not an issue as such. But everybody was saying like in Africa, it's very dangerous. You can't be there. You'll be killed. You won't have any sex. People who will know that you're a trans woman will just run away. And I realized that things was completely different because I remember I like put in a website saying that I do massage and I'm a transgender woman. Oh my God. I think the second day I got like 350 messages.
350
messages.
Whoa.
And half of them were saying like, just massage or more than that. What comes next? When you say that you are a trans woman, what does it mean? Do you still have your male sex? Can I touch it? Can I see it while I will be like, okay. Most of these people were Africans, and they are not Africans who had traveled. They are just Africans in Africa, like in Ivory Coast, who had never been outside Ivory Coast. So I said like, wow, okay. That was like kind of a surprise. So I think I enjoyed. And that's
I love it for you.
So yeah, when people say that it's too tough, it's too hard, you can't live your life as a trans woman in Africa, I say no. I've been here for 7 years and I've never as such had a bigger issue. Yeah. So my sexuality for now is like a full one. I enjoy people. I enjoy meeting people. I talk about who I am as a trans woman quite freely. I don't put a mark. Hey, hi, I'm Solange. I'm a trans woman. No, but when somebody asks me, what about your voice? Your voice like, man, what does it mean? So I explain freely.
I have to say, I think your voice is very sexy. I love that, je ne connais pas. That sexy French accent. But I want to go to Kwame next because I have to say Kwame is a hottie. Kwame is a fine brother. Kwame,
it's giving what it's supposed to
give. It's giving everything it needs to give. And I know, the sisters love you. I don't know. I think the brothers love you too. I don't know if you love them back, but what has sex and dating been like for you since you moved back to Accra? What's been different about dating in Accra versus dating in London, which is where you used to be?
Yeah, so I moved in December last year, and I think what's been really interesting is I feel like I'm in my prime, if that makes any sense.
Yes, you are, baby.
No, but not in a kind of like, oh, I'm in my prime. Like, I think the love that I'm receiving from everybody here is definitely elevating my spirit. More so than when I'm in London. And whether that's due to my circles or the makeup of London or the energy of London, or even so maybe it doesn't uplift Black men in the same way. And so that's kind of what I mean. I feel like, I don't have to do anything more than be myself here, and I am loved. And so when it comes to dating, I actually have found it quite challenging. But I think being a member of the diaspora, my tree is, I call it intermediate tree. I'm working on it. Looking the way I look, maybe dressing the way, coming from a specific, maybe wealth bracket or whatever. I think when it comes to dating in Ghana, I really do think about all of these things. I remember I took I was at the MTN shop, and MTN is a mobile network, and I saw a beautiful sister there, and I remember taking a number, and I think the mistake that I did was I took her to what's that cafe called? The one that everyone...
Vida Cafe.
I took her to Vida Cafe. And for me, that was a very a normal thing. But when I spoke to somebody else, they're like, why did you do that? And I was like, well, I was working. They said I'd made the girl feel uncomfortable because potentially, Vida Cafe is not where she normally hangs out.
Vickie, I can see your face. This is not a girl like you or I, because you or I would be like, please, why are we not going to a posh
what I'm
French
not
restaurant?
understanding is I don't know if Vida is too high for her or too low. So I'm waiting for him to land.
I think and obviously all respect to her, I think it was too high for her. And so then that was the first kind of like thing. And I was thinking to myself, oh shit, Kwame, like, and then I remember the girl was messaging me, what should I wear? And I didn't understand why she was messaging me that. Now in my head, which I've never ever really thought before, I do think about, is it class? Somebody said to me, coming from the diaspora to Ghana, you're a member of she called it the 5%. And I was like, what does that mean? And I was like, you're coming with pounds and dollars, you've taken a plane, you have property. Like this is not a standard thing for everybody here. What is the responsibility that you're going to do with that? And she really made me question like my position and my power and my privilege here. So to be honest, Nana, like, I look for recommendations now. Like, I'm just here living my life, follow my channel on Instagram, traveling Accra, traveling West Africa, and I will ask for recommendations because I'm
always
too
happy
new.
to hook you up.
I'm too new. So that's where I'm at.
I can see Malika's dying to get in there with her questions. So go for it, Malika.
No, I'm just listening to Kwame. And, on Twitter, I've heard people describe dating in Accra as an extreme sport. And like everything that you have described sounds like, it sounds like hell. It sounds like the dating Olympics.
Okay, so I also think that there's maybe a first world problem situation going on here where people want relationships, but they say they want sex. Do you understand what I mean? But like really what you want is a relationship and sex, like a traditional monogamous relationship. But like, I know for me and my girls, like, I don't know if we can say this, but bitches are hoeing. Mm-hmm. They are like,
hoe is life.
Whole season. Like, yeah, if you're looking for that version of sex, sexuality, relationship, traditionalness, I think it's a scary place to be right now, right? Because especially because everybody has so many options. All of my friends are fucking, like, not in relationships necessarily, but even the ones who are married are also fucking. Let me just say, they're not fucking their husbands. But there's a lot of sex going around. There's just a lot of sex. But if people are looking for
the fence and like a walk down the aisle.
Yeah, if you're looking for that, I feel like that may not necessarily be as readily available because a lot of people are disillusioned with monogamy and disillusioned with marriage, and for very, very good reason. Like, who knows truly, truly how many of us can say we know 3 married couples who are really into each other, love each other, and are having bomb sex and good partnerships.
I seriously did not know 3. But I think this is why there's a lot of interest in polyamory, right? But Kwame, I'm wondering, have you had like good experiences exploring alternative relationships?
So before I answer that, I think this do the right thing, traditional, I call it the Disney princess idea, that maybe is the basis or was the basis of foundations of relationships is dying. I just like to call that out and say, I think with the openness in our minds and sexualities and expression, and I think that's causing that idea a bit of a problem. But to answer your question, yes, I feel like I had a period of learning about and trying different relationship modalities. We're born into monogamy, whatever that means. And then we learn that maybe we don't know 3 people who are happily monogamous and it's not even about, it's about feeling fulfilled, feeling happy. It's not like, oh, you're going to stay with your person because of this and this. That's not what we're talking about here. You have one life, please live, enjoy. And so my journey and travels has definitely led me to have different types of relationships where I felt a lot more joy, honesty, love, respect. And it's also I had to work on myself. And I think when I say work on myself, I mean, Kwame, this jealousy thing you're doing, you need to understand what that means. Where is that coming from? This ownership thing that you're doing, you need to understand what that means, because this doesn't play in this thing here. What else? Jealousy, ownership, communication. But I think ultimately I'm now believing that from my experiences, yes, I have the ability to love more than one person at the same time. Why not? Why not?
It's an abundant world out there.
Abundant mindset.
And I think when to some people you say that, and I think this is why I'm probably struggling with dating, because you need those minds are maybe far and few between who are honest about their minds. And also you might even meet someone and they even say, I'm polyamorous. But if they haven't done or gone through certain levels of work or had the experience, then really they're just monogamous, but trying to be polyamorous. Because when you start to introduce another person or talk about them, they start not replying to your messages and you're like, hey, but I thought you said. So it's still, there's a journey of it. And I think that with me personally, having to understand who I am, how I work, was the most important thing to be able to fully be open.
I like that because I feel like we should all be open to various forms of relationship structures. And it's really about you as the individual figuring out what works for you. So, yeah.
But I think what's difficult about it is when you start opening yourself up, then you're hit with family, society,
True.
religion,
True.
culture,
True.
economic stability. My granddad had 8 wives. And every time I say that, I'm like, whoa, how did he do that? That's a different time. That's history. And I think these are the challenges which people face. I don't know how I'm navigating it myself.
And I feel like we have new challenges in these times as well, right? Like Solange, you mentioned how as a trans woman, you felt safe on the continent. But I'm wondering if you're feeling any different because of all of these new hate bills that are, just, it seems like spreading like a virus. I'm wondering if you feel that could have an impact on the dating lives of queer people across the continent.
That's a tough question. Because I think sometimes there is a kind of difference between what the law is saying and what is happening on the ground. So, I think that yes, we have to be very careful. We have to be sometimes discreet. We have to navigate maybe with people we know, maybe changing codes, changing how we do deal with people. But humans are human, and sex is in a level whereby whatever law is there, sex will be happening, but definitely sex can't stop. We live because of sex, and sex does create. It creates knowledge. It creates joy. It creates connection. It creates books. It creates studies and education everywhere. Sex is like the base of everything. So we can't either same-sex or heterosexual sex. It does create. So there is no country where there is no creation.
I love
and where
that.
there is creation, there is sex, which all kind of sex. So
that's beautiful. Thank you, Solange. So, we're talking about gender identity and dating while African. Vickie, you had said something once in a video post. You said, the reason I may never marry is that 99.9% of African men are raised to feel entitled because of their gender. Now, I'm a married woman, and I have to say, I have to agree with this because it specifically said African men. I always knew I would never marry a purely born and bred African man because they're just raised to be entitled.
Oh, small. I like to call them small gods.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that.
No, because, and I tell people to interrogate this all the time, that if you think about the relationship between your grandfather and your grandmother, the relationship between your father and your mother, were they not small gods? Like, I remember our entire households being designed for my grandfather coming home or my grandfather going to work. My grandfather is sleeping. My grandfather is this. Like, there was a whole praise and worship consistently. And then with my own father, I remember, like, when I think of girlhood, how much prestige I felt because of my proximity to my father and the way I was elevated in my own family because I was my father's daughter, not my mother's daughter. And so when I think of the men in my life, I'm like, yeah, they spent their entire lives being worshipped and idolized and catered to and prepared for. I love my dad. I could never be with a man like my dad because contrarily, my father raised me to be like the most viciously independent woman ever, like by design, after seeing the way his friends were treating their wives. So I always tell people, like, when I would make a traditional African man miserable because when he wakes up in the morning, he wants breakfast and I want breakfast. We are going to be looking at each other. He's going to say, baby, I'm hungry. I'm like, me too. And no, seriously, like, you would just be miserable. Like, because I say this all the time, like, I am your worst nightmare. Do not look at the size of my hips and think that you
These
will find
childbearing hips.
I'm telling you, like, no, my sister,
I've already
so
born
I
one.
keep telling people that, like, I am not that one. I have not been raised to cater to a man. Am I loving and nurturing, et cetera, blah, 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 whatever? Yes, I am. But if you're looking for somebody who's going to come and labor behind you and like be a housemaid, somebody who's like run, like I can't.
Who will be the next so you can be the head?
I'm telling, like, you know, so I don't know that role. I don't know how to play that role. So, and I think that that's why it's probably happening that I'm connecting with younger men, because they've also grown up in a different time where they've been groomed and nurtured and seen and experienced women as leaders in their own lives, so that by the time they meet me, I'm not an anomaly, right? They're like comfortable with who I am, while men my age or older are looking at me like, so is it that you can't cook? Or you don't want to cook? Will the cooking, is it going to come later? Like, at which point are you bringing, like, are you just doing it just like, you know, like eventually you would, I'm like, hey, let me tell you, I have Uber Eats app. Is that what we're doing? Like, this is not who I am. And I don't pretend it for anybody. No. I am coming fully, 100%, like full free. You will see me from day one. So you will fear, like you just don't, this
there's not for me.
At all. It's not. And I don't even want to be, because I think it's perfectly okay for the traditionalists to exist. We just should not be forcing other, people who don't match us to go and be in the box, because that's when you're miserable.
Solange would like to jump in here.
Yeah, I realized that when I was in Canada, that so many black men were like very humble when they were with white girls. They could clean, they could cook, they could do everything that all these other white men are doing. But back with African girls, they are behaving completely different. So those guys in 20s, maybe they are respecting you because of your age, because of your status, because they want to treat you the way you want to be treated. But when they are with some girls of 18 years old or 20 years old, most of the time they become much tougher, even like their dad. Because what I'm reading on internet is not very interesting in terms of how the younger generation is being educated in terms of gender equality. It's what I wanted to say about what you're saying.
Thank you, Solange. I mean, we have an African man in studio, so
this is. I'm just reflecting on my behavior. So I haven't actually dated a younger woman in many years now. So I guess I am 32. The women I engage with are maybe above 37. So I'm just trying to think, how do I react and engage with them? Yeah, they are established. They're powerful women in their own right. They know how they want to be treated. And I think I'm not looking to maybe marry them, or I'm not looking to be dominant over them, or like, I'm not looking to disempower them. So you have your way of being, I have my way of being. Can it mesh? And I think that's a smoother transition. I think if I was to think about a younger woman, then if I haven't done any deep thinking or writing or speaking to good friends about my behavior, yes, I could easily potentially fall into how my parents have modeled their relationship. Solange, I really understand, and Vickie, I really get what you're saying there. But I also think younger women, for me, why don't I go for younger women?
I think older women are more attractive to younger men. This is also my other... No, it's true. This is also my other thinking,
because
right?
they're tired. They too are tired and burdened by the patriarchy.
True.
And
women?
Men. I think younger men feel the heavy burden of
Vickie, yes.
Because because I speak to these men, like, what is this thing? And when they describe their past relationships, it's filled with dishonesty, pretense, and also a heavy financial burden
Yes.
to
The
even
expensive
though we're peers, we're the same age, or we're both in college, we're both in the exact same place in our life. There's this expectation that's simply based on the man's gender that he should be more financially well off. He should provide, right? And I think that that's a heavy burden, right? And maybe that forces you, if you're being forced to take on this role as provider, as the man, the elder, the like de facto leader in the relationship, then you want respect.
You better wake up and make that breakfast.
Thank you.
No, it's real. You better be up before I'm up.
I'm telling you, I think that's where it is. But when you take away, and this is what I often say about older men, I'm like, if I take away your wealth and your capacity to provide for me financially, let's take that and your education and everything, all the like boxes you think you've checked. And let's talk about you as a human being. And I find that unlike someone like Kwame, they haven't done the deep reflecting, the questioning, the unlearning. They've not done the work because what they believed will get them through
was money.
It was money, right? So younger men, I think, are realizing that maybe there is an opportunity presents itself.
It's the currency. It's now the currency.
Absolutely.
We don't have the power or the money or the things that the older men have. Sorry to cut you, Vickie, but I think
I see the light is going up.
I realize my success now. Sorry. I realize my success. It's the currency of being open-minded. You know, all the kind of maybe soft skills or the opposite of toxic masculinity that some men like this are like, why do I need to do? And I think that's the power there. But I was just reflecting on being the patriarchy that you mentioned, and you're absolutely right. The patriarchy is absolutely tiring.
You have to come back for season 3 because I want us to go into this. But I want to come to our final question, which is the question we're asking all the guests on our show this season. We want you to share a sexy secret with us.
Oh, Lord.
And you can interpret that question any way you want. But I'm going to go to you first, Solange.
Whoa.
And Kwame, Vickie, you've got some time to think.
Sexy secret.
But Solange, what's a sexy secret
Solange
that you
stays
can
ready.
share with us?
Oh my God, why do you start by me? Okay, let me say.
Because you're one of my faves, Solange. Everybody's my fave, though.
All men that I met told me, even women, told me that my blowjobs are like the best of their lives.
Oh,
so many times some men will say like, I never come by the mouth, but with yours, it happened.
You've got skill.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And there is one in Canada who said that, I don't know how you call it in English.
Say it in French. En français, s'il vous plaît.
Les 8 merveilles du monde. They're like the marvelous, the wonderful things of the world.
Oh,
like,
one of the 7 wonders.
Wonder.
Yo, DJ is one of the 7 wonders.
Wow.
And there are like 8. And they said that my mouth is the 9th.
Hey.
The ninth wonder of the world.
Yeah. And it should be protected by the UN.
Wow.
It's a World Heritage Site.
So
That is great.
I'm not inviting Kwame to try it. Or Nana, maybe, who knows?
Hey, girl.
Yeah.
Me, Charlie. I'm an equal opportunities lover.
Oh, Lord.
I love it. So let me come to you, Kwame.
I'm really struggling.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
I'm really struggling. But Solange, you smashed that one. That was insane. Sexy secret. Okay, I've got one that how do I start it? It's not a secret. It's just something. It's something that happened to me that I was just like, wow, like insane. It was like top 5 sexual moments for me with people. So I land in Ghana, and somebody set me up with a couple. I kind of just turned up at their house, and they had known each other for a number of years. So there was a great bond that they had, and I kind of entered their space, and it was a beautiful space, beautiful apartments, beautiful space. And I felt like the love that they shared kind of overflowed onto me. And I was part of their world for however many hours that it was. And I think this is a different experience to other experiences because I just literally landed. And I think my currency or my vibe was fully appreciated. And it was definitely one of the top 3 moments that I've ever had.
Amazing.
So yeah, that was a kind of, yeah.
What an aquaba.
Listen, it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Gosh,
Vickie.
see, I don't think I have any sexual secrets. The only thing I would share is maybe like I've possibly had sex every single place imaginable.
Okay.
Like just, and I don't think that there's like a right time, a wrong time, a right place, a wrong place. Like if you give me 10, 15 minutes, we can do it. I've stopped off like, between meetings, stop at your office really quickly, bend me over, and then I go to my next meeting, had sex in a plane, in a river, like just
in a river,
My sister, Sierra Leone has a lot of rivers. So like, I'm just one of those people who like, I will make time. Like, I don't know this. I will make time for like.
You're never too busy.
Chale, like I will make time. Like no time.
You're like, here's a 15-minute slot.
No, like seriously, like it really is. It really do be like that. So I'm collecting my orgasm. Like, no. So that's me. I just feel like I don't have sex often because of my lifestyle. But when I do, I'm getting a lot of it. Like, I'm just about that.
Hallelujah.
I'm about that. I'm about that.
And that's what we're about here
yes.
on Adventures as well. We're here for all the orgasms. Everywhere.
Yes.
In rivers, in the ocean, on planes,
On planes.
Wow, this has been such a fun show. Oh my God.
You guys were hilarious. I learned a lot.
For sure. Oh my goodness. But Vickie, Kwame, Solange, you guys have been amazing. It's been so great to have you.
So long, farewell, it's the end of season 2. Nah, can you believe it's over?
But you know what? It's not over, folks. Just go back, listen to season 2 from the beginning. Go back to season 1, listen, tell your friends, rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Like us on social media. Like our studio, AQ Studios, on social media. I mean, let's spread the word. Let's spread the love.
Spread the love. And also, remember, keep coming.
Keep coming.
Thank y'all for listening. We love you.
Love you.
The Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women podcast is hosted by Malika Grant and Nana Darkose Chiama. Sally Chan, AQ Studios' CEO, is an executive producer alongside the hosts. Ferdy Boswell is a senior producer. Audio editors are Mercy Barno and Tevin Sudi, alongside production support from Mercy Gudaiga and Lucas Ngao. The Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women podcast is a production of AQ Studios in partnership with Massy Media. Follow us on all our socials at AQ Studios Podcasts. Our theme music is Damn by Rhea Boss. Find Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women anywhere you get your podcasts, and in the pursuit of all things sex, sexuality, and pleasure, follow us on all our social media platforms at Adventures From. Thank you for listening.
Damn, she's so fly. Goddamn, she might die. She goddamn with the goddess lie.